Hello and welcome back to a Clear and Obvious podcast. As always, I'm your host Archie Corbett and I'm joined by the wonderful Sam Cole. Sam, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Archie. Yeah, just enjoying the terrible weather. How about you?
Yeah, now mate, it's a welcome break. I think it's been too hot recently, so I was hoping there'd be a massive English downpour, and lo and behold, there has been. But we're going to dive straight into it. We are doing a Premier League review. We've done Bundesliga, we've done Serie A, and none of our followers really have the diverse opinions on those two leagues. The Premier League, however, I think is going to annoy quite a few people. So if you're out there and you don't agree with our grade, cry, let it out. It's fine. But give us a review on Apple Podcasts. Tell us why we're not good. Give us a comment on YouTube. All right, just talk to us, please. We'll as per usual, we'll go through all 20 teams, alphabetical order, and we will give them a grade like they're in school. So let's kick things off. With the relegated, and because they're now relegated, Arsenal will start at the top of the league next season, which makes me very happy. AFC Bournemouth, they finished the league in 18th, getting relegated. I've given them a D-. I think we've done with relegated teams, we can't really give them more than a D, because obviously they've gone down. But I mean, a D- is fair. I mean, I thought they should have stayed up. They were very unlucky to go down, but it seems to have been coming for a little while because a team of Bournemouth size should never have been in the Premier League anyway. Can I see them bouncing back? Probably not. But I mean, they've sold Ake. They'll sell another couple of players like maybe Brooks and Wilson, get a bit of money in and build again. They sacked Howe. Well, Howe's left. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do next season. But they got relegated. It seemed like we were predicting them to get relegated every season. To be honest, as a fan of football, I always thought they'd get relegated just because they're a small little tin pot club. But yeah, I mean, what honestly, if you're a Bournemouth fan, I'm really sorry, but I doubt you are. Right, Sam, what grade do you get to give them?
Oh my goodness, it's
We'll
been,
go.
it's been one team, and you've already called a club a tin pot club.
Go straight
Oh
in.
my goodness me. I've also given Bournemouth a D minus. Eddie Howe in charge for majority of the or for the whole season. Unfortunately, the fairy tale is over. They've just had a terrible season, to be honest. The loss of David Brooks through injury really, really cost them, as he was their main their only creative threat, really, in their team. Unfortunately, the other key players didn't really step up in his absence, and unfortunately, Eddie Howe was the reason for their rise, but then he was also the reason for their fall with his his transfers were just very poor. He brought in the wrong players. A lot of them flopped. And unfortunately, I still think they should probably build a statue outside the ground of him. But he was the reason for their demise.
Yeah, and it's a shame, really, because I really like Bournemouth. I've just called them Tin Pot, I'm aware of that. But they're a nice team. They're like a team you can't really hate. And it's sad to see them go, because if you're a fan that goes to away days, they're on the beach. That's nice. But no, player-wise, I was pretty underwhelmed by Callum Wilson this season. They've rejected bids in the region of 30 to 40 million for him before. And in hindsight, I'd have accepted that. Josh King's okay, turns up every now and then, but he's way too inconsistent to rely on for goals. Lerma's come in and just basically tried to attack everyone. He's one of the most aggressive players I've ever seen play football, which sometimes works for them. It gives them some sort of edge, but it didn't because they went down. Quite like Jack Stacey, actually. He was a decent signing, but yeah. Other than that, they deserve to go down the other day. I mean, you could argue Villa did, but table doesn't lie. But let's move on for Bournemouth. We've both given them a D minus. On to the almighty Arsenal. We finished 8th. I've given us a C, right? Which on the face of it, it's Arsenal and we've come 8th. It's been a poor season, but we've endured half a season of Unai Emery ball. So you've basically got to completely void that part of the season, in my opinion. And if you look at the second half of the season under Arteta, I know a lot of Arsenal fans are pretty getting a bit ahead of themselves over Arteta. I would put myself firmly in that category because I think he's basically the second coming of Christ. He's amazing, and no, to be on a serious level, we've broken our transfer record to bring in Pepe. He hasn't had an instant impact, although I think he gets undeserved hate. We finished 8th for sure, but we've won the FA Cup, and I know you were getting a little bit annoyed about this because it's a league review. No, it's a season review, and that incorporates every competition that we were in. So, league-wise, it's been our worst season for 25 years, and we still won a major trophy. So I look at that as not necessarily a successful season, but a season that a lot of other football fans would be very jealous of. So you've got to realise that we're in a position of privilege with that. But I think Aubameyang was amazing. I mean, I just love the man, and he's about to sign a new contract. It's happening, isn't it? So if we hopefully we'll bring this Gabriel guy. Saliba might be able to come in. Our problems are still defensively, obviously, but I think we're at the point now where we're basically just stocking up on centre halves and hoping we can find a combination that works. So if we do that, then we should be okay. But yeah, I've given us a C. Might seem a bit generous. What do you think, Sam?
I've given you a D. I think your view to avoid the whole spell under Emery is. I don't think you can do that, mate. But yeah, you've pretty much. I understand that. You've pretty much had 3 managers this season. Emery, Lundberg was in charge for about a month.
Yeah, he was in charge. I think it was for 3 games in the end, but it was still basically Emery, but it was disgusting to watch.
Yeah, no, that was a really good spell. And then Mikel Arteta obviously coming in. And to be honest, it was awful under the first 2 managers. Very poor. And then kind of Arteta came in, steadied the ship. And I think, to be fair, he's done a great job, as much as it pains me to say it. But at the end of the day, you didn't finish in a automatic European spot. Well done, you won the FA Cup. You pretty much own that competition anyway. Doesn't really matter. But yeah, Aubameyang, form he is the best striker in the Premier League. Someone tell me someone better. There's no one. I know you play him out wide, and this year in fantasy football, he's described as a midfielder, but in my eyes, he's a striker. He's the best in the league. And on the flip side to that, David Luiz breaking the record for the most penalties given away in the season. What a record-breaking team! But yeah,
in defence of David Luiz, right, and he doesn't do an awful lot of it, but in defence of David Luiz, right, under Arteta, in a back 3, he looks like a semi-competent centre-half, which is more than can be said for any other time of the season, because he looks woeful on the 4 at the back. But yeah, Aubameyang, I mean, his back definitely hurts. We've spoken about players that have got some spinal issues on this podcast before, but Aubameyang's certainly up there. Needs to see a paediatrician, because that man is on... Is it... No, chiropract. That's it. Chiropract. But yeah, anyway, let's stop talking about chiropract. I've given Arsenal a C. You've given us a D. Let's move on. Let's go on to Aston Villa. They avoided relegation basically just because Hawkeye wasn't turned on. Like, you look back at it, that's pretty much the reason why. They came 17th, relegated poor little Bournemouth. I've given them a C+. Just because they did survive, and I was pretty convinced they'd get relegated. They did spend a lot of money and wasted a lot of money. They basically did what Fulham did when they came up, but weren't as lucky to stay up. And Villa are far less likeable, to be fair. I'm not just saying that because you're a Fulham fan here. No one hates Fulham. But this is about Villa, and Grealish was unbelievable. Like, it'll be interesting to see if he does leave, which I don't think he will now he stayed up, but if he were to leave, how he'd do in a bigger team. But at the end of the day, I mean, they were kept up by Hawkeye. They were very lucky to stay up, and I think they will be going down next year. I'm not convinced by them at all. But I C+ because they stayed up. Enjoy it while you're here. But yeah, see you later, lads. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, fair play. I've given Villa a C. I think spending all that money to stay up is the least like you'd expect. So I feel like a C is just a good level. But yeah, Dean Smith in charge here. I'm not going to lie. I'm not convinced by it all, and I think Championship is very much a ceiling. But fair play, Grealish kept him in a job. They were in the relegation zone most of the season. Too fair to him, tactically he did get it pretty right after the break. He did definitely improve. But yeah, Grealish instrumental, 8 goals, 6 assists, very decent. They're kind of lucky that A, Hawkeye wasn't turned on, and B, Watford are an absolute mess. But I'm very happy for my dad. And unlike you, I think they have a better chance of staying up next season than they did this season.
Interesting. I don't know. I mean, yeah, as you said, I'm not really convinced by Dean Smith. Also, I dislike this Villa team because it's maybe doing a complete U-turn on thinking Tyrone Mings is a decent centre-half. Watching this Villa team try and defend has exposed him for not being very good at football.
This is amazing. At the beginning of the season, Archie at university all the time just going, I tell you what, I don't understand this Tyrone Mings slander. He's such a good player. I want him at Arsenal. He deserves to be in that England squad by the end of the season. Archie was like, I want him nowhere near this Arsenal team. And how has he got in the England squad?
Honestly, I thought, you know what, I'll give him the back in. He looks okay against Bulgaria, but then I remembered that was Bulgaria. But no, he's a fraud, and he should be playing Premier League football. But no, I mean, to be fair, Jack Grealish carried them. I quite like Trezeguet, actually. He's decent. Douglas Luiz looks to have some decent potential. So they've got some good players. It's just building around Grealish and kicking on to potentially, not top half, because we're not going to get ahead of ourselves here, but staying up more comfortably. But let's move on. Obviously, Villa, big club, so they should be staying up. Let's move on to Brighton. Now, this will divide two particular opinions watching this podcast. So they came 15th, and I won't lie, they had Arsenal in their pocket all season. So fair enough. You know what? You take the small victories, lads. B-, I'm going to give Brighton 15th. I mean, I like Graham Potter a lot. I think he's a very good manager. Dunk is. I don't want to say it because he's England's best centre half. Yes, he probably is. If I'm honest, all right, he probably is England's best centre half. Okay, there you go, James Welch. And no, you know what? Just have your glory. All right. If you keep hold of Lewis Dunk when you're staying up, if you don't and you don't replace him well, then there's a chance you're going down next season. No, overall, Bissouma's pretty good. I quite like him. He's a pretty good holding midfielder. I don't think Mope's coming. He scored. Was it 9 goals he got this season? Was it 10?
I don't know.
It was, yeah. He scored a few goals, and their issue was that they needed a proper striker. He's come in and he's been okay. But yeah, overall, I think a B- is fair enough because I think they're a heavily underrated club. Brian, there you go. I've said it. They're a heavily underrated club. They've got a very good keeper, very good centre half, a couple of decent players other than that, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, what are you going to say, Sam?
It pains Archie so much to give Brighton credit just because of James. It's hilarious, but yeah, I've given Brighton a B. 15th of Ruby on their 17th last season. The objective for Brighton this season was they brought in Graham Potter. He has a completely different style of play for Chris Hughton. So pretty much just stay up with this style of play and it's been a good season. And it wasn't even close in the end. So fair play to them. I think Graham Potter's done a brilliant job. They're much more comfortable in the league last season. It didn't require them a late staying up. Great youth prospects in their team. Got Lamptey, Connolly, Alzate, all introduced this season. They have the centre back depth of a top 6 side. Their centre backs are a joke, and I think Brighton have had a brilliant season. To be fair, a great first season for Potter, and could make a top half push next season if they keep Duncan. Even if they don't, Ben White and Webster are still very good centre-backs.
I'm just reflecting on what I said, and I don't think they're in trouble if Dunk leaves, because A, they're going to get loads of money for him, and B, Webster, as you say, very underrated centre-half. I like him a lot. And they've got Ben White coming in. Sorry, Leeds fans, don't cry. But no, I mean, they've also got one of the best youth setups in the country, if I'm honest, because in terms of no clubs really being anywhere near them, they are able to basically select from local areas and basically take the best prospects. So they've got a brilliant youth system, they've got a great manager, and they're a club on the up. So yeah, B-. Let's move on to Burnley. Like I said, I do like Brighton. I just also quite like watching James Welch rant on Twitter. So when they're doing well, there's less ranting. But let's move on. That's personal. Let's move on to Burnley. They finished 10th. I've given them a B+. And Sean Dyche, the job he's done at Burnley is unbelievable. They're such a team unit of a club. I really like Chris Wood. He got 14 goals, brilliant player. Pope's been outstanding this season. Their centre halves are just steady and very good centre halves, Tarkowski and Ben Mee. So overall, I like Burnley. Dwight McNeil's their only player with any sort of pace at all. He's not even that quick. But yeah, no, defensively they are one of the most solid teams in the league. And going forwards, they've certainly capitalised on opportunities. And a top half finish for Burnley it's impressive. It's very impressive. So yeah, B+ for Burnley. Sean Dyche, you've done a quality job. What are you thinking?
I'll give them an A-. Sean Dyche, what a manager. He should have been nominated for Manager of the Season, to be honest. That's how big an achievement this is. I'd have even put him third in the Manager of the Season. I think that's how good a season he's had. But he sets his team up so well. They all play for the manager. They're players that aren't even of the highest quality, but they just work. It's a hard-working team. They're, despite it not being nice on the eye, their work ethic is good, easy to get behind. Chris Wood has actually been a good signing since he's come in with 14 goals this season, which is quite impressive for Burnley. And Tarkowski and me are probably England's second and third best centre-backs. None of the good England centre-backs play for top teams, which is quite funny. But Burnley, brilliant season. Dyke is amazing, A-.
All right, I'm just going to gloss over that take about England centre-halves because that is going to annoy a lot of people. So let's not delve too far into that, although Joe Gomez is probably crying. B plus for Burnley. You've given them an A-. Brilliant season. Let's move on to Chelsea. They've come fourth, and I'm going to give them an A-. It wasn't initially an A, but I'm going to give them an A- because cup competitions-wise, they've not done brilliantly. That's all I'm just going to say. Bottle the FA Cup, realistically, they're only playing us. No, that's harsh. This season, Frank Lampard's come in and he's brought through the youth. He's done something that Chelsea have threatened to do for a while because their youth system's just so stacked with players that they normally just throw out on loan. But overall, he's the only manager that's come in recent times and brought more youth players through. He's given Tammy a chance up top, who I think he's given some unfair slack. He's not an amazing striker, but his goal scoring record this season is actually pretty good. But I mean, they're bringing in Werner, so who cares? See you later. Yeah, the whole idea of bringing through youth prospects just goes out the window when you can spend 60 million on another striker. Let's bring through German youth prospects instead. Yeah, that sort of seems to be the way. I like Mason Mount. I think he's a little bit overrated, and I think Ziyech could be much improved on him. But yeah, overall, I don't think Tomori was given enough of a chance in their team. Defensively, they've definitely got some problems. In goal, they've really got some problems. Going forwards, they're fine. But yeah, they're going to be a fun team to watch next year because they're just going to be outscoring teams and conceding an absolute ton of goals. So yeah, Lampard's first season, A-, got top 4, got them Champions League, so fair play, Chelsea.
Yeah, I've given Chelsea a B+. They've had a decent season, to be fair. Frank Lampard's first season in charge at Chelsea. Fair play to him, getting him fourth, getting Champions League football. That's more than a lot of fans expected, to be fair, because they couldn't sign players due to the transfer ban. Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount and Tomori getting a go was nice to see some young players actually come through, even though they still threw good young players out for cheap fees like Passalat. I think their achievements this season are slightly overrated, but I still think he's done a good job. He still doesn't know his best centre-back pairing, which is quite frustrating to watch when he literally rotates centre-backs. It's like a little lottery. Who's going to play this week? You literally never know. He never keeps the same centre-back pairing. And I reckon he probably would know his best centre-back pairing if he just stuck with one for a while and just given them a chance. But yeah, it's just bingo, isn't it? Just which one's going to play this week? Just have a guess. Which kind of frustrates me a bit, as you can tell. And he needs to appoint a set-piece coach because whenever Lampard's at a club, they just can't defend set-pieces. Derby, though, had the worst at conceding set-pieces in the league, and Chelsea worst at conceding from set-pieces in the league. It's not just a coincidence. But yeah, other than that, good season for Chelsea, B+.
Yeah, I feel like we've been a little bit negative on them. No, to be fair, we've given them decent grades, but Kavkitch was brilliant all season. I don't think he gets the credit he should do. He's a brilliant player. Reece James has come through. I mean, admittedly, I liked him more at CDM for Wigan, and he's now playing like a right wing back, and he can't really defend that well, to be honest, at right wing back. But other than that, no, their youth prospects are brilliant. Chelsea, A- for me. Let's move on to Crystal Palace. They finished the season in 14th, and I'm giving them a C, right? Ayew, he played well. I like Jordan Ayew. 9 goals for him. I love the goalkeeper, Gator. And just a decent season, you know. Hodgson's got them playing some okay football at times. They can surprise the big teams. That's what I said, okay. Some okay football at times. A frustrating team to watch because sometimes in games where they should be winning, they just don't turn up. But they can trouble the big teams at Selhurst Park with that atmosphere. Of course, no atmosphere at the minute. But overall, a C for Palace. They're still in the league. Well done them.
Yeah, well done them. I've given Palace a C+. Roy Hodgson in charge, avoided relegation comfortably again this season, which I'm not going to lie, under their ownership is all they can really achieve. They lacked goals due to Wilfred Zaha just being quite terrible, to be honest, for this season. They're the player that normally carries them in the air. In steps Jordan Ayew, who with his 9 goals actually had a good season. Though, to be fair, Gary Cahill, one of the signings of the season, I think he's an unbelievable season. He has almost single-handedly kept him in the league with his organisation at the back. Everyone thought that was done after he left Chelsea, but he's proved he's still a Premier League centre-half. We'll see how many years he has left. But, brilliant season from him. And stop the Hodgson slander, Palace fans. There are so many people saying Hodgson should be sacked. And I'm just going to be blunt right now. Right now, you'd be Championship without him. Your squad isn't good enough for the Premier League, to be quite blunt. Especially with Zaha not playing well, you should have got relegated. The lack of investment from the chairman and the lack of ambition from the chairman is why you're not getting up the league. Hodgson is a great manager, and you're lucky you have him. So when he leaves and you get relegated because you've been abusing them, you just be like an Arsenal fan, regretting that they ever lost Wenger, lost the best person you ever had. But yeah. C+, sorry for that rant.
Damn. Yeah, no, I think this is Palace's ceiling, if I'm perfectly honest, with their current ownership. And some of the signings they've made have just been dreadful. Zaha, as you say, he's fallen off a cliff this season. They should have cashed in on him when they could. But yeah, overall, they're sort of lower mid-table. It's sort of what you expect from Palace at this point. Let's move on to a team that you shouldn't really be expecting to be in the lower half of the table, Everton. They finished 12th, and I've given them a D-. I don't know. I mean, I like Ancelotti coming in. Coming in mid-season hasn't done him any favours at all. He hasn't been able to properly put his style on the team and make the transfers that he wants to, which I'm sure they will, because Everton just throw money at players that aren't good enough. So they'll do what they always do. But honestly, this Everton team should be better than it is right now. They should be playing better. Sigurdsson is, am I going to say it? Yeah, one of the most overrated players in the league. I'm really not a Sigurdsson fan. Calvert-Lewin's come through the season. Fair play to him. He's done brilliantly. He's looked a lot better under Ancelotti. Pickford is still making a load of errors, which is a bit of a problem. Your centre-half pairings all over the place. I like Yerry Mina. I very much dislike Michael Keane. So it's a team that has a lot of potential to move up and potentially challenge for Europe, especially under Ancelotti. But I don't think they will next season unless he's able to make the transfers he wants to. I mean, they're linked with Alan, Doucouré. He needs some central midfielders he can rely on. Andre Gomez is okay, but he doesn't. He's one of the most boring players I've watched. He's the most sideways player. But other than that, yeah, a decent season. Other than you came 12th, so not that decent. D-.
Makes sense. I've given Everton a D- as well, to be fair. Marco Silva sacked after not doing very well. Replaced with Ancelotti with a bit of Duncan Ferguson in between. A little bit of Duncan Ferguson, which was a fun time. I'm pretty sure Everton actually had their best form under Duncan Ferguson. What a guy. Though he probably scared those players into playing well. But yeah, spent around 100 million in transfers. I'm pretty sure all of them flopped, or the majority of them flopped. They didn't even get top 10, which is pretty embarrassing. Pickford was atrocious, the worst goalkeeper in the league, bar Kepa, maybe Angus Gunn. But then there's a few positives. There's the Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison were a good partnership up front. 13 goals each, played well together. And Theo Walcott got a lot of last-minute goals, which I never thought I'd be saying, saving Everton. But yeah, on the whole, a very poor season for Everton. And yeah, next year's their year, as all their fans say. But yeah.
Hopefully under Ancelotti as well, they can kind of nurture Moise Keane into the team, because it sort of seemed like he might have been slightly coming into the team, hit a decent patch of form. Duncan Ferguson came in and basically just bullied him for a few weeks, and now his confidence is through the floor. But he's a talented player, and just nurture him through it, because he's a young player. But yeah, Everton 12th, not good enough. Let's move on to Leicester, who finished 5th, and I'm going to give him a B for that effort. Jamie Vardy, top scorer in the league. I still don't get how that man scores goals at a Premier League level. It's unbelievable, honestly. A man with that physique that just drinks Red Bull all the time. I mean, he's a nut job, but I absolutely love him. That whole Leicester team I really like. Yeah, Harvey Barnes has had an underrated season. I think Brendan Rodgers has done a good job with them. Bringing Soyuncu in as a replacement for Harry Maguire was good business, very good business, I'd say. Schmeichel's still one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and their form prior to lockdown suggests that they should have been Champions League, potentially even third. Came fifth in the end, which is disappointing because their post-lockdown form was utterly atrocious. Tielemans wasn't playing well. Maddison went missing. It was like they were all still in lockdown. It was poor, really. Chilwell, if you can cash in on him, do that now because next season I think he's going to fall off, if I'm honest. I like him as a fullback, but I think he's heavily overrated, and especially the price tags that have been put on him. But overall, for a club like Leicester, they've rebuilt from their title-winning year. They've invested well. And I like him a lot, and they deserve a B. Should have been in Champions League, but they're not. They're still in European football, which for Leicester is just sick. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've given them a B+, to be fair. If they'd have got European football, I'd have given them the A's. But yeah, they kind of bottled that. But yeah, Brendan Rodgers is in charge. I think he's a good manager, to be honest with these. Very solid. And won the Champions League places for the majority of the season, which is brilliant for Leicester. But then the break happened, and that kind of completely ruined them. They absolutely crumbled. They picked up so many injuries, and just their good players weren't performing, which kind of cost them in the end. But it's still a massive achievement to get a Europa League place. The achievement of Jamie Vardy to get Golden Boot at 33 years old is mental. Bear in mind he used to play non-league. And Harvey Barnes, brilliant player. 6 goals, 8 assists in his first full season in the Premier League. Brilliant. Really, really big fan of him, and he should definitely be in consideration for England and should probably be in there over Hudson-Odoi at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment of things. It's a bit annoying that England's best striker has retired from international football because we would be a lot better off with him.
Danny Ings.
Oh, of course, yeah, Danny Ings. How can I forget? And Danny Welbeck, actually. Two Dannys. Yeah, no, Leicester, brilliant season. B and B+, respectively. Let's move on to the team that won the league, Liverpool. A+. Your first title in 30 years. It's your only Premier League title. Obviously dominant in the 70s and 80s, but since they just haven't been able to build up to a Premier League title, and finally they've done it. It seemed like it was a long time coming, to be honest. They've finally done it. Klopp's got them playing unbelievable football. They bottled Europe. We'll ignore that because they won the Champions League the year before. But in the season, they were so dominant. And unless you play Watford at home, no, they were. All jokes aside, Liverpool were brilliant this season. Completely deserved. Walked the league. In reality, City put up 0 fight. And no, they've just got an unbelievable team. Their system works perfectly at the minute. And if they bought in Thiago Alcantara, then we might as well just engrave their name onto the Premier League trophy for next season as well, because that would just be utterly disgusting if they did. But yeah, no, their fullbacks is just unreal. 25 assists combined with your fullbacks. I mean, it's ridiculous. They're two of the best players. Their front three was firing as well. Salah didn't even have to have his best season for them to win the league. I mean, yeah, overall, they've just had an unbelievable season. Klopp has just taken them to the top. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here. Do they bring in a big name striker, or do they stick with Firmino, the false nine, brilliant striker? So no, he gets a hard rep, and his role in the Liverpool team can't be undermined in any way. But this season he was pretty poor, I won't lie. But either way, they were able to win the league and absolutely walk it. So if he was playing well, they'd have walked it even more and got over 100 points. But you're not one of historically the best Premier League winning teams of all time. But you won the league, so well done. It means no more than, I don't know, like Blackburn winning it, all right? But yeah, A+.
What a ramble
that was a real ramble, yeah.
I've given Liverpool an A. Jurgen Klopp has just turned Liverpool around, and this season they just kind of won the league without much competition. I don't even think they played as good football as they did last season, but they just had more. They could just grind out games better. Fair play to them, to be honest. A lot of players. You said Mo Salah didn't have his best season, 19 goals and 10 assists.
It's still ridiculously good, yeah.
Not his best season, ridiculous. Mane with 18 goals and 7 assists as well. Their players just put in ridiculous numbers. Trent definitely deserved the On Player of the Year. 4 goals, 13 assists, and improved a bit defensively, to be fair. And I thought Virgil van Dijk had his best season. The media hype had died down, and he probably deserves more credit than he got last season. I think he's improved the back line significantly since he's come in, but I think he's been even better this season. Yeah, A for me, Liverpool.
Yeah, no, they walked the league. They were unbelievable. And yeah, no, I take the mick about it not being a historic Premier League title just because it's truly Liverpool fans. But you've had a brilliant season, deserved to win the league, and it'll be interesting to see if City put up any sort of a fight next year. Moving on to the aforementioned Manchester City, they came second, comfortably second. I've given them a B-, right? Because we can't understate how much of an achievement it is to come second in the Premier League. They won the Carabao Cup, what they do. But overall, they didn't do as well in Europe as they should have done. But no, the money that they've invested in the league this season, they should have been challenging. They slipped defensively. I mean, they're woeful. They really are. On their day, they can beat any team in the league. But there are so many points in the season where they were just way too inconsistent to put any sort of a run together to even challenge Liverpool. Next season, they really should be challenging Liverpool. Obviously, bringing in Ake won't change masses, but it will certainly change something. They should be a bit defensively more sturdy. And hopefully, Guardiola will stop spending 60 million on fullbacks that he just forgets about halfway through the season. And that'd be brilliant. But yeah, overall, De Bruyne is the best player in the league, arguably best player in the world at the minute. He's unbelievable. And Sterling, despite his miss against Lyon, has improved significantly this season. His finishing, because it sounds weird to talk about his finishing as being really good, but overall this season his finishing's improved massively. But of course he did miss that sitter against Lyon. But overall, yeah, no, without Aguero, there are some concerns. I think Gabriel Jesus is horribly overrated. But overall, I think a B- is fair considering he came second in the Premier League.
Yeah, I've also given Man City a B-. Yeah, Pep Guardiola and his side just weren't as good as last season. They never really challenged for the league, but at the same time, we're just very comfortable in second. They just kind of stayed like that the whole season. Their squad should be doing better. I would say they probably have a better squad bar their defence of Liverpool. But KDB, Kevin De Bruyne, what a season. 13 goals, 20 assists. He should have been player of the season. I don't get me wrong, I think Henderson's had a great season and fair play to him, but I think De Bruyne should have been player of the season in my opinion. And David Silva's last season at City, end of an era, and I'm going to say it's one of the best Premier League players. He should be remembered as one of the greats, if I'm being honest. I think he's second in the assist charts of all time, which is ridiculous. And but yeah, proper good player, should be remembered. But yeah, I've just got in capital letters. Fernandinho is not a centre back. So yeah, but B- for City, but stop playing Fernandinho at centre back. It's painful.
Yeah, the key is they haven't replaced Company. That's the key for me. They still haven't replaced him properly. Once they do, they'll go back to properly change Liverpool. But until that happens, I don't think they will.
Henderson is also overrated. That's another little thing.
No, you were doing so well. You were doing so well. Oh, so sad. That's so sad. You were doing really well. He's not. He's not overrated at all.
He is.
Why is he overrated?
Why? Because he's not that great. He's a decent. Don't get me wrong. With his feet, he's one of the best in the league.
Yeah.
But like shot stopping wise, he's quite overrated, and he makes quite a few mistakes.
Against Lyon, he did. Don't get me wrong, but I think that's tarnishing his reputation. This season, he was brilliant. Kept the most clean sheets with that defence in front of him is literally unbelievable. How do you keep the most clean sheets in the league with that absolute car crash of a defence in front of you? Go on.
I wouldn't say that for the majority of the season. I don't think Nick Pope's been that great, and he's had. I understand his defences.
He's had a brilliant defence, yeah.
Yeah, true, but I don't know. But Man City at the same time have just keep the ball. They never really give it away, so
yeah,
they don't get attacked as many other teams. So that's the reason for his clean sheets. But I think he's slightly overrated, and we should move on because of time.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, of course. No, that's another chat for another day. But he's top 2 Premier League goalkeepers. Anyway, let's go on to Newcastle. Finished the season in 13th, and I'm going to give him a B-. Right, this club has been through it all.
And United.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, people are going to hear about Man United, aren't they? Right, I forgot about them. Fair enough. Not like they're probably the biggest club in the country. Man United. They finished third. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, okay. Man United finished third. I've given them a B. Under Solskjaer to finish third is unbelievable. Fernandes has come in and he's got a load of hype, and deservedly so. Well, people will say he's overrated because of the way his assists and goals have come, but he has come in and the entire mentality of that team has changed. Martial and Greenwood had his breakthrough season. He's been awesome. Rashford, I love Rashford. I think he's great. They're going forwards. They're brilliant. It's just the fridge at the back that's the problem. I'm really not a big fan of Harry Maguire at all. He's really
Fridge.
I'm not a massive Harry Maguire fan. For England, he's very good in a similar way to Pickford, but I don't think at club level he's quite stepped up into those. It's stepped into those shoes at Man United that he should have done. I've aired my thoughts on Wan-Bissaka before. He's had a decent season, but overall he's not great. But yeah, they need to sort of the goalkeeper situation as well. They've got De Gea, and then obviously they've got Henderson coming back. What they're going to do with that? If I'm them, I start Henderson and sell De Gea, cash in on him. But overall, I mean, to finish third, considering the car crashes of seasons they've had previously, there's been no consistency at that club. They've done well. So third, a B.
Yeah, I've given them a B plus. Solskjaer in charge, he and Archie are huge fans of. Yeah, they got they got Champions League football, which is and they came third, which is a huge achievement. Bear in mind where they were maybe a few years ago. They're playing some good football. Bruno Fernandes, I looked at their team in January, I just thought they just need a penalty taker. And Bruno Fernandes has came in, he's just filled that void. I'm joking. Bruno Fernandes has done phenomenally since he's come in. 8 goals, 7 assists in 14 games, even with penalties, is a ridiculous number. But yeah, he's been amazing, and he's definitely propelled them to third. I reckon he has single-handedly brought them from Europa League to Champions League football. But yeah, Rashford and Martial both getting 17 each, shouldn't be. I think they've been quite underrated this season. And yeah, Maguire, I think he has improved them, but that's just how bad their defence was before. Yeah. I think that he's improved them slightly, but he's nowhere near worth 80 million.
I don't think,
that is a bit of a...
Yeah, I don't even think he's anywhere near as good as Lindelof is, if I'm honest.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
Lindelof's actually brilliant. He's a very underrated centre-half. I really like him. He's actually coming to... It took him a couple of seasons, but he's coming now, and he's actually... I think he's very good, to be honest.
Yeah, fair play. You're not wrong. Lindelof has been their best centre-back, but Maguire has slightly improved him. Yeah. Just don't run at him one-on-one. Next, Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle. They came 13th, but I've already told you that. I've given them a B-, and I've also already told you that club has been through it all. Threatening ownership changes. I mean, they've got Mike Ashley, so there's a ceiling at the minute with that club. But overall, looking at their squad, at the start of this season, I thought they'd be relegation candidates. But fair enough, they've done very well. The signings are questionable. Sam Maximan's been very good. And yeah, he's a quality player. I won't lie. But Joe Linton he's just awful. He's really not very good. Awful. Go on. Do you not think Joe Linton's an awful footballer?
I think Joe
at Newcastle in his first season.
Oh, okay. Right. So Joe Linton, that is terrible. You've just rephrased that completely. Joe Linton this season has been terrible, but he doesn't fit Bruce's style of play. If he plays if he plays an assistant that suits his style, he's a great footballer.
Okay. It was Hoffenheim. He was that, wasn't it?
Yeah, Hoffenheim.
Yeah, and he was very good there. And I reckon he will be a good striker for them at some point. It's just they need to work it out because he is a very good player. But overall, he's had a terrible first season. But you get that with strikers sometimes. It's just when it's Newcastle and you're spending $40 million on a player, that's a large chunk of your budget. So they have to come in and have an impact if you're going to stay up. Yeah, I quite like Lascelles, actually. He's a good player. Very good leader for them. Dubravka's been awesome this season. But they do leak goals, and that's their problem. John Joe Shelby's had an underrated season. I'm not a massive fan of him as a player, but he's had quite an underrated season. But yeah, overall, I think with the current state of the club, 13th is a very good finish.
Yeah, I've given Newcastle a C. I think they've just kind of had the really average season. I thought I thought they'd be around. I thought they'd be a bit lower, but nah, 13th, fair play. Steve Bruce's first season in charge. All Newcastle fans just thought they'd get relegated as soon as he was appointed, which is very harsh on him. But yeah, it's a solid first season with a lot to build on, to be honest. Despite the fact they struggled for goals, they didn't actually have a very good defence. So you might ask what was actually good about them. And that is St Maximin. St Maximin, despite not really getting that many goals or assists, was just, what a guy to watch.
He's so much fun to watch, yeah.
He's already a cult hero and he's been at the season. Just the way that Newcastle finally have a player that runs at players. They just can't believe it. They've never seen anything like it. And they're an exciting player to watch the St James's Park. They haven't had that since, what was his name from the Goal movies?
Santiago Nunez, or Nunez, yeah.
But Joelinton doesn't fit Bruce's style, as was said, and was a waste of money because of that. But he's still a good player. Pretty average season. If they can improve their defence and their attack, then they could build. But yeah, C for me.
Yeah. Let's move on to Norwich. They finished rock bottom, and I've given them an F. They came into the league, and I was quite excited about them because I watched a little bit of them in the Championship, and they played some fairly good football. And I quite like the style of play. They had a lot of good young players coming through. I was quite excited to see how Todd Cantwell could do all that sort of thing. Buendia was brilliant all season. But they finished bottom, and it wasn't even close to staying up, let alone 19th. I mean, they were way off. And they're one of those teams that have come up and they've tried to play decent football. They've tried to play the same style they did in the Championship, and it just hasn't worked. But good news for the big clubs is that they can sort of pick the bones of, the Ben Godfreys, Max Aarons, Todd Cantwells, every Buendias of this world. Timu Pukki, who I haven't mentioned yet, but he started off so well and there was so much promise. He met up with the president of Finland and he pretty much got a knighthood or something like that. He started off so well, but he just faded. And there's a reason that he was at Norwich. It was because he has these patches of form where he's really good and then just falls off completely. But yeah, Buendia, brilliant player, but I don't think Daniel Farke was the man to keep them up this year, and that proves to be the case because they were nowhere near staying up, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I've given them an F. As I said, Daniel Farke in charge. They tried to play attacking football with a Championship level team, and it didn't work. They got embarrassed most weeks. Few positives. They did beat Man City 3-2, which was pretty mental, to be honest. Emi Buendia as well as a big positive. He should play for a top six side. Fourth most chances created in the Prem, which is ridiculous thinking how many good creators there are in the Premier League. He was a highlight, despite the fact that Daniel Farke dropped him because he didn't score enough goals. But that's the reason Norwich got relegated, to be honest, Daniel Farke. If they keep with Farke, they'll never establish them as a Premier League team. I'm sure, if anything, the blueprint is to look at Brighton, have a manager like Chrissy Hughton come in, get them up playing good football, play defensive football just to keep them in the league, and then bring in a new manager when you've established yourself. That should probably be the blueprint. And Daniel Farke is too biased to his attacking style. And on another note, Grant Hanley is the worst player in the Premier League.
So randomly, just drop in a slating of Grant Hanley.
Yeah.
Is that it? Just the Grant Hanley's the worst player in the league. Yeah, he's definitely not Premier League standard, but half their team isn't Premier League standard, to be honest. Tim Krul had a very underrated season. If it weren't for him, they'd have conceded double the amount of goals and would have had half the amount of points. But yeah, let's move on to Sheffield United. They finished 9th, and I've given them an A+. What a season. Loads of people thought Sheffield United go straight back down, myself included, and a lot of them had them rock bottom. And Chris Wilder's just gone like, no, you're not, you're wrong. And they were challenging for Europe the majority of the season. They are brilliant. There's no individual standout players on this team. I mean, they've got a good centre-half pairing of O'Connell and Egan. Dean Henderson was outstanding all season. And John Lundstrom's brilliant for them as well. But I mean, they just, as a team unit, they played so well. They had a bit of a cup run as well. I really like them, and they've massively overperformed. And it'll be interesting to see how they do next season, to be honest. They're bringing Ramsdale. So presumably that's Henderson's not coming back. And I like Ramsdale, although he did concede a lot of goals this season. That's probably because his defence was pretty terrible. But yeah, overall, Probably, definitely. Yeah, at Bournemouth, he had like no one in front of him other than Nathan Ake. But yeah, no, we're not talking about Bournemouth, are we? But yeah, Sheffield United had a brilliant season. To finish top half in your first season in the Premier League is outstanding. That achievement can't be underplayed. They faded a little bit at the end of the season, but it's kind of expected just because they're such a hard-working unit of a team. A plus, Sheffield United, brilliant season.
Yeah, I've also given them an A plus. Chris Wilder in charge, who I'm sorry, Jurgen Klopp, mate, your achievements are great. That he is the manager of the season. Chris Wilder is the manager of the season. He's got them 9th. I mean, I did predict them to come 10th. Actually, no, I did. I said they come rock bottom. I also quoted as saying they're not even trying, and it's going to be embarrassing. Yeah, everyone tipped them for relegation. They almost got European football, and if they'd have got European football, even Europa League, that is an achievement on par with Leicester in the league. I'm sorry, but they literally have so many players that are Championship players, and they've just worked together and they have been. It's this incredible story. Just a team of written off players that have come together to make a truly memorable season. And A plus for me, Sheffield United.
Let's move on to Southampton. They finished 11th, and I've given them a B minus. The only reason Southampton finished 11th this season is very impressive. The only reason it's not a B or a B plus is because they lost 9-0, right? And you can't completely just pretend it didn't happen. It happened. You got battered at home, 9-0. But other than losing 9-0, which I might have mentioned, Ralph Hasenhüttl, I think, is a brilliant manager, and Southampton were great for sticking with him through that period where they were on bad form anyway, and that terrible loss just compounded it further. Danny Ings has come back to the sort of form he showed earlier on in his career, and he's a brilliant player. He finished third top scorer. He finished in the end.
Joint second with Aubameyang.
Awesome player. His goals have pretty much propelled them up to 11th. And if it was a season where defensively they might have been a little bit better, because I'm still not convinced by really any of their centre halves, then they might be all right. And Danny Ings could propel them into the top half. But no, 11th in a season where you lose 9-0 is very impressive. So yeah, B minus for Southampton.
Yeah, I've given Southampton a B. Ralph Hasenhüttl is a manager I rate very highly. I think he's top 5, possibly, managers in the league. So to have him at Southampton is just an incredible achievement. But yes, started the season quite terribly. They did lose 9-0. But then after, I'm not going to lie, the 9-0 completely changed their season. After that, he switched back to his 4-2-2-2 system, which he knows he used at Leipzig, and it just suited his team, and they just started playing so much better. Defensively, they did struggle to find a centre-back partnership because all their centre-backs are pretty mess. Stevens had bright sparks, but the rest of them aren't great. James Ward-Prowse, actually, I thought had a very underrated season. He did so much in midfield, and people still think he's just a good corner and free kick taker when he's not. He's so much more than that, and I think is in with an outside chance of players like that again for the England squad, and should definitely be considered. And along with him, Danny Ings, what a season! 22 goals, one off Jamie Vardy, crazy season. Another player that should definitely be considered for the England squad, and yeah. Quite a terrible start, a brilliant finish, and it's a B for Southampton.
Yeah, you touched on it there. James Ward-Prowse is there was a stat read the other day that he's the only player in the Premier League to have played every single minute, which is just unbelievable. His work rate, his engine, he's not just a free kicker and corner taker, as you say. He's a brilliant player. Just signed a new contract for them. He's been there since he was 8. I mean, he's literally been at the club for like 20 years, which is mental. He's a brilliant player, and there's certainly some potential there. They just need to sort out their centre half pairing. Let's move on to Spurs. They finished 6th, and I've going to get a bit of hate for this. I've given them a D. They've got Europa League football, and they've celebrated like they won the World Cup. I'm gonna okay. Other than that comment, there, I'm going to try and take some bias out of it. They've got rid of Pochettino, and under Pochettino, they're playing some brilliant football, and it's just adapting to having Mourinho as your manager, because mentally that's going to take some adapting for them, because he will grind out results, and he will probably get European football each year, and he might give you a cup run, but do you want to put yourself through the pain of watching Mourinho ball? And personally, I can't really put myself in the shoes. But if I'm a Spurs fan, I'm not sure I want that. I know a lot of Spurs fans like him. He's a very divisive figure. He always has been. But overall, I mean, when Harry Kane's injured, they just don't really have an awful lot in terms of goal threat. Humanson's had a good season. But overall, I think, I don't know, sixth for a team that last season got to a Champions League final, no silverware again. I mean, I don't want to slate them too much, but they can certainly kick on. New stadium, that's good. But yeah, other than that, I've given them a D.
Yeah, I've given them a D plus, slightly more positive. I mean, they spent a lot of money in the transfer window, and none of them were playing. I don't think any of them were players Pochettino wanted. So he then had to fit all these new signings into his style of play, and they just didn't click, unfortunately. Started the season poorly. Mourinho, despite a slow start, actually did turn them around. And they were, despite, like, people can criticise style of football, they were one of the form teams towards the end of the season. Mm-hmm. He did very well. And the fact he got them a European spot, that wasn't even on the cards at points of the season. So fair play to him to get a European spot. I know he's quite divisive, but if I was a Spurs fan, I'd stick with him just because Spurs haven't won anything in ages. And Mourinho, despite how boring it might be, might actually win them something. There's actually hope for it. So keep going under him. Humansson was their best player this season, as you said. 11 goals, 10 assists. Kane, a bit injury prone, which is kind of worrying for Spurs. But yeah, a better season than you think, but down to 6th from 4th still isn't great. So I've given them a D+.
Yep, let's move on to Watford, and they finished 19th. And Sam, I haven't told you this, but I've given out my first U. Watford, what was that reaction? Watford have got Watford. I've given them a U. They are. I know you want to have a bit of a rant, so I won't hog it for too long. But the state that their club is in, I mean, it's ran into the ground. And going back down to the Championship after splashing out on 40 million for Ismaila Sarr is brilliant. Their only positive they could take from the season was that they did beat Liverpool. That's literally the only positive I can think of that. That's pretty much it. Bottom. Oh, they didn't come bottom. If that's a positive, then you know it's been a bad season. But yeah, I've given them a U. They were just tragically awful. And for a club like Watford to be going down, who have actually become an established Premier League side in recent years, is disgustingly bad. So yeah, I'll leave that there. You go, mate.
Yeah, I've given Watford an F. I was so tempted to give them a U because they really annoy me.
Come join me on a U. Come on.
Give them an F. They did come bottom. It was a U, but they came 19th, and they were a bit better than Norwich. But yeah, 3 managers this season there: Xavi Gracia, Kike, Sanchez Flores, and Nigel Pearson, and Hayden Mullins for the last 2 games. None of their managers got enough time to turn it around. Really, it was a woeful season with the only good moment, as you said, beating Liverpool 3-0, which is quite mad. Bear in mind how bad a season they were. Bear in mind, Liverpool were unbeaten and were going for an unbeaten season. But yeah, sacking of Pearson is an utter disgrace. Why would you sack a manager with 2 games left, thinking that Hayden Mullins, who hasn't managed a team in his life, is going to do a better? Oh, it's actually delusional. Like, their board are delusional. They've just appointed some other foreign lad. What is their? Oh, they are. They are dumb. Their key players didn't step up. Deeney was their best player, which kind of shows how bad they've been. Oh, he actually had a half-decent season, 10 goals, 2 assists at 32 years old, even though he's probably very much past the Premier League and probably should be playing the Championship. But he will be next season. Exactly. So I'm lucky him. But yeah, Watford are a disgrace. Well, yeah, Watford are a disgrace. Their board are a disgrace. They're lucky they didn't come bottom. Nigel Pearson, I'm sorry, mate, that you had to go through that. And that's an F for Watford. Oh.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you're saying, to be honest. Their ownership is just holding them back in every way, shape or form. It's this rashness with changing managers if they don't make an instant impact. And the worst thing was Nigel Pearson Sorry, my dog's going absolutely berserk. Nigel Pearson did instantly turn it around and still got sacked. Shut up! But yeah, it's the car crash. Yeah, like Watford season. There we go. Because they were awful. They shouldn't have got relegated once they appointed Pearson. They were on their way out the relegation zone, and then they were just like, just put in Hayden Mullins. But yeah, anyway, last two teams. West Ham 16th. I've given them an E-, right? West Ham fans, at the start of every season, they've come into the London Stadium and there's so much promise there, and they just disappoint everyone every season. And they invest heavily as well. Haller, I think, gets an unfair rep. He's a brilliant striker, and he didn't have an awful season, but he just wasn't getting the service that he needed. Felipe Anderson's completely fallen off a cliff. I have absolutely no idea what's happened to that man. Declan Rice put in a brilliant season. They had Lucas Fabianski started off the season pretty well, got injured, and just hasn't really bounced back to his normal standards, which is kind of annoying. But overall, Bree and Souček kind of saved them, to be honest. And Moyes has done an okay job there. Is he the man to lead them to the promised land of Europe, as they keep saying they're going to get a European spot every time they spend like 100 million in the summer? They're not going to. And it sounds like I'm slating them, because I am. They were so close to getting relegated. If West Ham had got relegated, that would have been a U as well, obviously. But they got an E-. They came 16th. They just about survived. If they keep Rice, they're all right. If they sell Rice, they're all right. If they replace him, okay. It's just what they do with that money in the end. But yeah, overall E-.
Yeah, I've given them an E+. Pellegrini in charge at the start of the season, replaced by Moyes. The signings under Pellegrini were all flops. Haller is a great player, but hasn't performed that well. Roberto, the less said about him, the better. And Pablo Fornals was seen as one of the best prospects in Spain, and is now seen as a bottom half terrible player. But then the signings under Moyes were actually quite good. Jarrod Bowen, I thought, improved them a lot, and Thomas Souček definitely did, adding goals from midfield, a bit like Fellaini. But yeah, very disappointing season considering the money they spent. But David Moyes, he kept them up, and he's come in and kept them up again. They need to give him a chance. Honestly, David Moyes, listen, he's a good manager, all right? He is a good manager. He should have been given more time at United. Whoever was coming in was never going to bring them into Europe, like Champions League again, or challenge. He should have been given more time. Let's pretend he never went to Sunderland. His time, he was amazing at Everton. You can't go that long at Everton without being a good manager. And he was great in his first spell at West Ham, keeping them up. He's like Sam Allardyce. Just stop bringing them in to keep you up and then binning them. It's so disrespectful. Give him a chance. And West Ham, I'm going to give an E+.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, poor season overall, if I'm honest. We didn't even touch on Antonio, who was their best player all season, other than maybe Declan Rice.
To be fair, his form coincided with West Ham staying up.
Yeah.
Him and Souček performing.
Because he's not even the most talented player. He's got such a work rate. It's unbelievable. And I really like him. I felt like we had to touch on him at the end, because talk about West Ham season and not talking about him might have been slightly criminal. Yeah, let's move on to the last team of this Premier League review, Wolverhampton Wanderers, and they came 7th, and I'm giving them a B. The job that Nuno Espirito Santo has done with that club, admittedly he has got the backing of basically the whole of Portugal, but he's a brilliant manager and has done an outstanding job with them. Adama Traore has had an unbelievably good breakthrough season. Jimenez is just an awesome striker. I mean, value him at 90 million seems a little bit over the top for a 29-year-old, but he's a very good striker, scores a load of goals, and he's one of the few proper number 9s in the league, I'd say. I really like him. But overall, yeah, no, they've had a good season. It's disappointing that they won't be back in Europe, to be honest. They've had the longest season out of anyone in Europe, to the point where their seasons have overlapped. I feel sorry for them, because they had to come in through the qualifiers, so their season started really early, and they're finally getting a break. But yeah, overall, Wolves B for finishing 7th. Very good job.
Yeah, I've given Wolves a B plus. To be fair, I mean, as you said, backed by the whole of Portugal and a Super 8 agent who is definitely dodgy dealing in some way. But Nuno Espirito Santo has done a brilliant job again. They came seventh like they did last season. They were unlucky to miss out on European football. I actually think it's quite selfish of Arsenal not to lose that and give Wolves European football after the season they had. And it was quite weird because bear in mind the amount of games they've played, their team pretty much stayed the same throughout of them. Or the main players in that team, they didn't really rotate that much, which is quite surprising. But yeah, Jimenez was brilliant, 17 goals, and Adama Traore, 4 goals, 9 assists, and he tore Man City apart where they played them. But yeah, it's been a good season for Wolves, and I could see him probably coming like 7th again next season. But yeah, now fair play to Wolves, and yeah, B plus.
Yeah, Wolves certainly deserve European football more than we did. I won't lie, we don't deserve European football, but we've got it, so that's fun. But anyway, look, that is our Premier League season review done. This one's probably been a bit longer than the other ones, just because we've had more freedom to rant about it, because we started ranting about the La Liga and Bundesliga, not many people would care. So ranting about the Premier League at least divides opinion with a lot of people that listen. So thank you very much for listening. Well done on getting to the end. And yeah, no, it's been a Premier League season, a historic Premier League season, I'd say. For all number of reasons. But league starting up again in less than a month, which is just ridiculous. So, I mean, we should probably do a preview and predict Premier League, and people can laugh at how badly we yeah, mate, it's not going to be good. The predictions for you. I'm just going to warn you now.
We're signing Gerard Piqué. It doesn't matter, mate.
And on that note, thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Thanks, guys.